Okay, this building was a lot of fun to sketch, and I want to explain my entire process with this one, so let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm working with the Pilot Kakuno fountain pen that has a fine tip, and the first thing you'll see me do is lay down a lot of loose line work. I'm trying to keep everything really loose here, and one thing that is going to help me do that is to hold that pen way far back. Now, if I were to grip the pen with a much more controlled grip, closer to the tip, I do run the risk of a few things, and one is that it's going to make it much easier to get my proportions wrong. When you have a tighter grip, you're not as free to make broad strokes, and you're usually confined to smaller sections of your sketch, causing you only to develop those smaller areas at a time. Being broad with your strokes can let you capture the essence of the shape and then go back and refine it from there to be more precise. Now, the reason for this is that you tend to just draw with your fingertips on a tighter grip, not your whole arm. By using a loose grip, you can promote a more confident stroke. This is something that oftentimes beginners struggle with. Now, that's not to say that you should never use a tighter grip. In fact, a tight grip is an excellent way to get more control over that finer detail where accuracy is going to matter. Now, in this sketch, I am purposely trying to stay loose, even with my detail. So you will see that when I move over to the detail, you'll notice my hand position is still really far back on that pen. I am doing this because I want to maintain a consistent and loose feel over the entire sketch. Okay, at this point in the sketch, I have my basic framework of the building laid out on my page, and you may have noticed that I have slowed down the speed of my line work. And this is just because that I have moved over to what I'm calling the detail phase. This is just the phase where I'm trying to refine and clean up all of my line work. And I'm going to do this by going over them again to establish them. You'll notice that on some of the lines, I'm trying to make them straighter, or on other lines, I'm just trying to correct the position of the line a little bit. Again, all of this is being done with a moderately loose grip. I'm not so focused on getting my lines exact, but I want to keep it loose because I like the quality of the loose line and the character that it adds to my sketch. For example, if you just look at the other sketches on this page, you're going to get an idea of where I'm going to end up with this one. Okay, another thing that you might have noticed that I'm doing with this scene is that I'm not sketching the entire building. If you look at the left side of this building, you'll notice that I'm stopping short. I'm ignoring the back portion of that photo. And you'll notice that I do the same on the right side, the right front of this building, where I cut that empty billboard above the canopy short. The reason I'm doing this is that I just want my sketch to translate well on paper. And since these are meant to be a practice, I can define whatever parts of my photo that I want. That's what's so great about being the artist in control. Nobody is going to know what I left out. And if this is just for practice, you can only focus on the areas that you want to practice. Now, I want to take a minute to talk about this building in particular. One of the things that stood out to me, and the reason why I decided to sketch this building, was because of the texture. I really like experimenting with different texture in my scenes, and this one did not disappoint. If you look at the reference photo of the building, you can see those textures on all of the different surfaces. Now, the trick with adding textures with a pen is not to overdo it. It's really easy to overdo your textures and to get a dense area of line work in your scene that starts to shift the values into unwanted directions. For example, the corrugated metal that you see on the front of the building could have easily been a disaster if I was way too heavy-handed with my line work, which may have caused a big ugly mass of lines on the front. Instead, I was very deliberate to use fine lines when adding that texture by using the back side of my pen, which is just a technique that you'll see me do throughout this sketch. This is something that comes with practice, which is just another way of me saying that I've made this exact mistake I'm talking about several times before. So if you notice that your line work is getting too dense and it ends up looking like you're trying to fix a mistake, that's okay, because now you're more aware of how far to take your line work before it looks sloppy. Okay, I do want to talk a little bit about why I'm using a fountain pen. This sketch, and any of the sketches really on my channel, can be done with any utensil. and I highly encourage you to use what you are comfortable with. Now, for me lately, I've really enjoyed using the fountain pen. I do have some felt tip markers that I enjoy drawing with as well, but I often go through phases. In fact, a few years ago, it was all pencils for me. Now, back to the fountain pen. Why do I enjoy it so much? Well, I actually enjoy the tactile feel of that tip on the paper. It does give a bit of scratchiness, but it's soothing to me in some sort of weird way. I also really like how that ink flows. It does not require a lot of pressure for the ink to flow, and it produces a nice, consistent line. Now, yes, that line is harder to control than a felt tip marker, but the lines are more consistent. I also really like how you can get two different line weights from the fountain pen, simply by flipping that pen and using the back side of it, which you've seen me do throughout this sketch. So it really allows me to switch up my line quickly. And now I can get a thicker line too, simply by pressing harder with the fountain pen, but those lines tend to be a little more difficult to control the consistency with. Now, if I wanted to achieve two different strokes with my other pens, I'd have to use a completely different pen. Now, that's not to say that I could just vary my pressure, but again, as I mentioned earlier, varying your pressure can give you different line weights, but it's not going to be as consistent of a line. And it's going to take practice to get that feel. So, as I finish up the details on the side of this building before I jump into the coloring, I wanted to mention a frame of mind while you're drawing these loose sketches, and that is to be okay with not chasing perfection. Loose sketching is really about capturing the essence or the gesture of your line work. They don't need to be accurate, but that looseness is going to give your line character and energy, so not being clean actually works in your favor. Now, as I wrap up the detail, I do want to mention that my goal is not to capture every single line. I'm really just trying to capture the essence of the detail. I'm purposely skipping areas and not including a lot of the detail that I'm seeing. I'm just trying to capture the major areas of detail or the suggestion of detail in the other spots. I'm really looking for what matters most, such as these panels on the side. They add character and stick off the wall a little bit, so it makes sense for me to include those. But you'll notice there's other detail in the scene that I completely skipped right over. Now, another important thing to keep in mind when you're practicing loose sketches is knowing when to stop. And this can be very tricky, especially for beginner artists. It really does take practice, and there are some exercises that you can do to kind of help you get in that mindset, and that's to time box your sketches. This is something I've talked to before in other videos, but setting timers for your sketches, such as 30 seconds or 1 minute, can really help force you to stop drawing even though you may not think it's complete. Now, really for this sketch, it's just going to come to a point where I feel like my sketch embodies enough of the photo for me to call it done, and that's when I move on to coloring. Now, as you can see, I have started to add my colors to my scene, and the way that I'm approaching this one is that I plan on layering my colors to achieve the final color that I'm seeing in my reference photo. Now, I don't have enough markers in my collection to find the right color for each element in my scene, so that just leaves me with really only one choice, which is to mix my colors by layering them in order to get the desired color. Now, you will see me start most surfaces with a base color and then layer on top different colors to push that color in one direction or the other so that it's closer to my actual reference photo color. Now, lately what I've been doing is mixing my colors on a separate piece of paper off to the side, and this is just to see how they're going to turn out before I actually apply them to my scene. This really helps me to be a little more confident with my colors so I know exactly what I'm going to get. In some previous videos, I have made the mistake of trying to tackle a color without thinking through how to build it up, and as a result, it may have ruined some of the sketches. Well, at least in my mind, it's ruined. Okay, now, because I'm approaching these colors by building them up layer by layer, you will see me bounce around a lot, and that's common with my normal approach. I'll switch around colors a lot, oftentimes going back and forth between the same colors over the course of coloring my entire scene. I've said this previously, but I still feel like I'm relatively new to coloring, especially with alcohol markers, and I'm continuously experimenting with my style, trying to lock it down just to get a consistent approach. Now, one thing that you probably picked up in previous videos is that I really like to add shadows to my scenes. However, from this reference photo, we can kind of see that it was a fairly overcast day, which didn't produce any harsh shadows. So for this particular scene, you won't see me add my traditional step of the deep blue shadows, but instead, I will be using a different layering technique to add subtle value and soft shadows. This is just simply going to be darkening the areas with a similar color or using a darker color to introduce a little bit of value. Okay, I'm going to start to wrap up the coloring in a sketch, and it's just me bouncing around, adding the last final tones to the different surfaces, getting them closer to that reference photo. And then once I'm done with that, once I'm satisfied, the very last thing I'm going to do is to take one of those darker gray colors and add some darker values in the areas that are going to have those soft shadows. Again, I mentioned I'm not using my traditional deep blue color for the shadows, but I'm keeping everything a little bit more natural and true to the reference photo. And that's it. That's the entire image. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you haven't already, please give it a like and subscribe.